Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. This podcast was designed to let you know that you aren't the only one that took forever to get it together. So the rabbit hole that you have stumbled down will hopefully help you understand that just when you think it's over, it's only the beginning. Just because you were dealt a bad hand doesn't mean you have to keep it. Welcome to the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.
And what's going on, you guys? Another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. Man, this is your boy, the Guru. Well, Terry, those of you guys that know me. I am going to start this episode off because this is a little bit different. I'm going to a different series. I'm going to a different elevation in my life, right? And a lot of things have changed for me over the last couple of weeks or so. And it's really been bananas in how God has done things and showed things and been a true sign in my life. And I got to learn how to let go. I got to learn how to let God be God and let everything else kind of fall to the wayside because of what he said. What I am going to talk about today, though, is taking that leap of faith. I've been shouting that. It's been in my spirit for the last couple of days or so. Is taking a leap of faith. Taking a leap of faith isn't always the easiest thing to do, and that's designed. That's a divine thing, because letting go of anything in life isn't easy. Letting go of someone who hurt you, letting go of someone you love, letting go of a job that God meant for you to leave a long time ago. Any decision that you've made in this life, good or bad, in most cases, hasn't always been the easiest thing to do. Leaving certain situations behind, leaving friends that you've been rolling with for years, isn't always the easiest thing to do when you are with someone who has hurt you, and it has come to your fruition that you got to let those folks go because they mean you no good, and they can't follow you where you are heading. That is what this is about today. We're talking about taking a leap of faith. And I'm gonna give you guys 3 steps, 3 things that you have to do in order to set yourself up for this leap of faith, because you just can't because people take a leap of faith 2 ways. One, they have thought about it and they've prayed about it and they've done everything that God has said and then moved. That's one way. Most folks take a leap of faith. The other way people take leaps of faith is purely on emotion. They really don't mean it. It's just something, or it's the right thing to do in this case, right? But let me help you, if I may. There is 3 things that everyone must do, and this is coming from me. This is purely what Terry had to do to get to a place to where taking a leap of faith became a little bit easier to deal with, because it's not always easy, right? Like I said before, and I'll repeat this, and you'll hear me say that a few times during this episode, that it's not always easy. The first step that you got to do, and if you follow me for any length of time, you know that the first thing I'm going to say to you, or the first step I'm going to say to you, is in itself a hard step, and that is forgiving people. That is forgiving those that have hurt you. Though, you have to learn or get to a place to where you can learn to forgive people, parents, loved ones, people you've been in relationships with, former lovers, all that. You have to learn how to forgive them, because what you can't do in this next chapter that you're getting ready to go through, what you can't do is you can't carry old grudges. Because it happens every single time. When you try to take an old grudge into something new, it never works out. It never pans out, because there will always be something or someone who is going to dredge up that old thing. And if you haven't dealt with that old thing, guess what? It's going to kick you right back down to the step one where you started from. In other words, there are a lot of people who are walking around here wounded and trying to step into a new thing wounded. One thing you can't do is step into something new wounded, because you will never be able to close that wound if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And that's one of the things that I had to do. That's the first step. Step number one is to forgive them. Forgive these folks. If you are listening to this podcast right now, you listen to this episode, I need for you to think about every single person in your lifetime that has hurt you, that has lied to you, that has cheated on you, that has put their hands on you, whatever. They have wronged you in the business decision. You've been wrongfully terminated from a job. All of these people, no matter who those people are, position yourself to forgive them. Position yourself to forgive them. Position yourself to forgive them. Why? A number of reasons why. Because they don't care whether or not you have forgiven them, because their life goes on. But you're the one affected. Learn how to forgive them. Move on. I know you're listening to me and you're going, Terry, come on, man. Really? This is what she did. That's what she did. That's what they did. That's what he did. But here's the thing. Is that you can't move until you forgive them. You guys understand that, right? And if you're wondering why that you're stagnant in certain levels and processes in this life, it's because we haven't forgiven certain people. There are so many people in my life that I just forget. I had to. Because God has got, you hear the old saying, God don't bless no mess. And that's the truth. And that mess being everything else, the unforgiveness, the petty, all of that. And that's me. Anybody know me that's been following me long enough? No, I'm the king of petty, right? But look here. None of that served any purpose. It didn't serve any purpose. It kept me in a place of darkness. It kept me in a place of unproductiveness. It kept me in a place of where I couldn't move because I was choking on the unforgiveness. A lot of people out here that are listening to this podcast right now are choking because they have not let go. And at some point you got to. You just got to, right? Step one, y'all. Step one is to forgive these folks that have hurt you. Forgive these folks that have meant you no good. These folks that have interrupted your energy. All of these folks, forgive these people. I can't stress this to you enough. Forgive these people. Your progression, your blessings in this life, where you're going, where God's going to take you, has nothing to do with anybody else. This has everything to do, though, with you. Everything. We have to learn how to forget those people. I can't stress that particular point enough, and you'll hear me say it thousands of times down the road. Forgive them, please. We're going to go into step two. The second thing that we have to do, step two, is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. You know, that's the hardest thing, because there people say all the time, I'm my own worst critic. I am my own worst critic, and I gotta tell you, I was that same guy. I can't forgive myself. I mean, I just, I did this. And what happens when you don't forgive yourself is that you live a life full of guilt. You're constantly trying to make amends for what you've done in the past. Even if the person or the thing that you're dealing with had nothing to do with your past, you're trying to make amends to the person that you're with. It doesn't work that way. Because the people that you're with or the thing that you're working with is only there to make you better, or that person is there to make you better. Man, listen, learn how to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to be in certain situations. Forgive yourself for allowing this person to hurt you. Forgive yourself for allowing this business to take advantage of you. Forgive yourself for allowing anything negative in your life, right? Because some of those things was beyond your control. They were absolutely beyond your control. There was nothing that you could do about it. It was just things that happened, right? But you cannot, from this day forward, you cannot walk through this life and think that you can make amends to people who did not hurt you. Also, you can't, and that leads me to, you can't be healed the same place you got cut. So if you're looking for someone that you're with, or the situation that you're with, and you're looking for them to heal you for something in the past, it's not going to happen. Right? I can't ask my wife to forgive me for a hurt she didn't cause. Now, what I did do, though, was made many moves stupidly during that because I was hurt. That had nothing to do with her. So here's the deal, and I say that. Learn how to forgive yourself. Learn how to forgive your mother, your father, your whatever. Learn how to forgive these people, because it means nothing to where you're going. Learn how to forgive yourself, because you have to be free from it. You got to be free. There's nothing in this world that is better, that gives you more liberation to look in the mirror and say to yourself with your whole chest, I'm free. Nothing. Forgiving them and then forgiving yourself, that is a whole different type and level of liberation. But in both of those cases, that's something that you have to want. It doesn't come easy. It doesn't just falling in lap. You have to want to be free. You have to want to be free. You have to want to be liberated from all this nonsense, the petty, all of that, the hurt, the pain, all this. Some of you guys are sitting back and you're waiting, and some of you guys are still mad at your uncle. Some of you for touching you inappropriately as a kid. Some of you guys are still struggling in that, and we will not deal with it. Why? Because it's an ugly truth and an ugly past that we don't want to deal with. But listen, you can't stay there. Because your next step in this process, this next chapter of your life, you won't have room. I'm speaking to somebody right now. As soon as you let that past go, that hurt go, listen to me, the liberation comes. The freedom comes. Letting go of all of that makes room for your next chapter. It makes room for your next chapter. It makes room for your next chapter. But if you're holding on to this, if you're holding on to the hurt, if you're holding on to the pain, if you're still bouncing back and forth off the wall because of what happened in the past, what happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. If you're still hanging on to the past, I promise you, you won't have enough room to receive the blessings that God has for you on the next chapter. I had to clean out my closet. This is Terry talking. I had to clean out my closet. I had too much clutter going on, and I didn't have enough room for my wife and my family because I was still dealing with past stuff. You have to let the old stuff go. You have to let all of it go. You want to be successful in this next life. You better believe the most successful people that are authors, that are CEOs, that have their own business, entrepreneurs, and all that good stuff. Everybody that is in their successful roles, I can guarantee you, had to do an inventory and excavate the bad things in their life. They had to, because they wouldn't have enough room to receive the blessings. They wouldn't have enough room. Step 1, forgive them. Step 2, forgive yourself. And step 3, I always say this all the time, step 3 is moving on. Step 3 is simply moving on. You know what piss people off? People who have hurt you and they know that they've hurt you. The one thing they hang their hat on is the fact that they know that they still affect you in some way. Let me tell you something. As soon as you decide that you are no longer going to be a part of that and you're moving on in your life, let me tell you how fast those weeds shrivel up. They can't stay there. It's just like weed be gone. I used to be the king of analogies. Here's another one. Consider this. Consider life as your plants, right? Your garden. And the unforgiveness and the petty and all of that, those are your weeds in your garden. The forgiveness of these folks and saying, I'm not doing this with you no more. You are not going to take any more of my energy. Listen, that is the biggest bottle of weed be gone you'll ever meet, because as soon as you start forgiving people and as soon as you start not responding to people, as soon as you start saying, you know what, not one more day, I'm not doing this with you, not one more day, you will spray all those weeds and they have no choice but to shrivel up, and then guess what you got left? You have nothing but life. You have nothing but life. Now, if anybody who's a gardener knows it's easier to garden a garden when there are no weeds. Come on. That's for somebody. Anybody that is a gardener, anybody that does anything with plants, it's easier for them to garden their garden without the weeds. You know how liberating it is for a person to walk out and not have to worry about their past, because the enemy, the one thing about the enemy though, is that weed will try to sprout itself back up. And sometimes it takes a couple of rounds of weed be gone to get rid of those folks. But you know what? You keep spraying. You keep forgiving. You keep moving on. You keep doing everything you need to do. And watch how those weeds disappear, and watch how much easier life is to navigate. I love every single one of y'all that's listening to this podcast right now. If you're not listening to this podcast, what are you doing with yourself? You know what I'm saying? But like I said in my reels on Facebook, you gotta have to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Knucklehead Chronicles on Instagram, and the Guru 2022 on TikTok. Follow me. I am going to start bringing knowledge. Me and my wife are embarking on something never before seen. Watch the journey. Watch the growth. Watch how God does it. It's going to be crazy. I promise you. But listen, you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time around.
Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't fry your brain too bad. Come back through and give me another chance. You can listen on all platforms and visit us at knuckleheadchroniclespodcast.podbean.com. Until next time, in the words of the incomparable Jerry Springer, take care of yourself and each other.